University produced bombs. The University of California has been involved in the Manhattan Project since the very beginning. It's created every nuclear weapon in the weapons complex of this country, from Fat Man and Little Boy, which annihilated people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki and continue to cause all kinds of radiation sicknesses in people among the survivors. The university has been involved in missile research. Actually, billions of dollars each year are funneled in through the university system through federal grants and Department of Defense spending, Department of Energy spending. Professors are funneled in and students are funneled in, all to create the largest weapons complex, in the history of mankind to basically annihilate the planet. So how do they also create bombs? Well, all of this is like nuclear waste, right? And we don't even know how we're going to dispose of it. There's no plan. It's going to be around for hundreds of thousands of years. The Obama administration has just increased spending on the nuclear weapons complex to levels that haven't been seen since basically 1949. So this isn't ending anytime soon. You can hope for more nukes. That's the hope he's giving us. So bombs. The university produces bombs. The university is producing buildings, and that's what your tuition dollars are going towards. Bob Meister kind of basically exposed this in the fall, but basically the way that this works is the university forces you to take ever more money out in debt because they're raising fees. Well, why are they raising fees? It's not just because they're greedy, evil people, although they may be that. It's also because student tuition is a guaranteed revenue stream. It's really the only guaranteed revenue stream of the university. And the university uses that revenue stream to borrow by selling bonds. And so their ability to maintain their credit rating is directly tied to their ability to increase student fees and increase your debt. So the university doesn't go into debt because it's pushing all of the debt off onto us, and we will all spend the rest of our lives paying for our degrees with jobs that, basically don't exist.
Not me.
So, bombs. And what are they doing with all this, tuition dollars? They're and all these bonds. Well, they're using that for new construction. The largest contracting firm in the state is owned by Richard Blum. Richard Blum is the husband of Dianne Feinstein. So, to say that there's a conflict of interest is a little bit of an understatement. But basically what goes on is students and their families take out mortgages on their houses to pay for education. They take out student loan debt. These are all really bad loans in terms of our ability to pay them off and the way in which these are constructed to be very predatory loans. And they're using that to fund, to channel money into Richard Blum's slush fund. He's been contracting at Los Alamos Labs and Lawrence Livermore. He's been contracting at basically all of the UC campuses to build all these buildings. And what are these buildings going to house, since we're having classes being cut and instruction being cut? It's unclear. So the university produces bombs, the university produces buildings, the university is producing billionaires. I mean, if you haven't figured this out yet, it's pretty incredible that all of the UC regions have invested interests, not all of them, but most all of them, have invested interests in a lot of these processes. Richard Blum, we were talking about Richard Gould, who was a vice executive of Wachovia, which received all kinds of bailout money. Richard Blum and Dianne Feinstein profited off of the bailout. So there's this tightly interconnected network by which all of the vested interests of the regents really want to increase student fees, have economic incentives for having a certain kind of class division in society, and so they have intense material interests in keeping the system going the way that it is. The other way in which the university produces billionaires, anyway, they produce billionaires. So the university produces bombs, it produces buildings, it produces billionaires, and it's producing a busted planet. Silicon Valley is held up as this darling of the university public-private partnership. And it has some of the largest amounts of toxic fund sites, toxic, waste sites, dump sites, of anywhere in the country. This is not to mention all the nuclear waste that the university is helping to produce. And the long-range development plan on this campus, which as everyone knows, or a lot of people who've been around for a while know, is basically going to sap resources, tax the water supply, and really overstretch the natural resources in this area. And this is a pattern. So they also produce a busted economy. So there's a direct correlation between the economic bubble in this state and the university's own policies. The university has basically is one of the largest employers of anywhere where it's at. So in all of the campus locations, the university employs the most people, which means it has the most kind of economic interest in these communities. And what it does is it ends up inflating the real estate costs and prices. That's why the cost of living in Santa Cruz is so high, because the university boosts all of that. It creates more of an income division by between the workers and the people who are managing the system in these areas. So it creates a cycle of debt and a cycle of inflated assets in terms of home prices. That basically is at the source of the way that this economic crisis has occurred in terms of the housing bubble. So it's produced a busted economy, and it's also producing a busted planet. It's also producing bombs and buildings and billionaires. So there's really no way around the fact that this degree machine has to be dismantled. We cannot go on advocating to save public education, because public education as such doesn't exist. That's what Robert Meister's presentation earlier today basically showed us. Now, we should advocate for public education, because that would do a lot of work to redistribute or to actually create more equality in this state, as it did with the master plan. But because Arnold Schwarzenegger just released this new budget, which basically gives the university $1 billion and the CSUs $1 billion, all the while gutting welfare, gutting childcare, gutting Medi-Cal. We can't really advocate from this position of privilege to have more money funneled into the university system. The student movement is going to have to move to a next stage and start generalizing the struggle outside of the university walls. Start advocating for increased taxation on the rich in this state. And if we don't, then we're just going to look like a bunch of brats standing around asking for more handouts. This might sound a little harsh, but we need to kind of raise the level of discourse and raise our advocacy so that we're advocating for a different sort of university, a university that would be more accessible, a university that would actually be used in society to fight privatization, a university that doesn't prioritize bombs over people, that doesn't prioritize buildings over students and their families. So that's really the direction the movement needs to go. And what we're going to do, we've kind of planned a little bit for a strike in the fall. The strike on this campus was obviously very successful. The fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger was basically scared to death and was forced to pump all of this money into higher education means that the student movement is working. That means that if we generalize this tactic, that we can see gains across society, but we're going to have to figure out how to do that. There's a lot of divisions between the campus and the community right now, and we're going to have to tear a lot of those down in order to do this. So on the table for next year is a strike, and you'll probably be hearing a lot more about that as the events today and tomorrow go on. But yeah, so that's basically the long-term trajectory. We have to start learning out how to disassemble this degree machine and build something else in its place. Thank you.